This episode is brought to you by Red Riding Hood, the manga-inspired take on the classic fairy tale for readers grades K through 2, written by Christina Oxtra. In Red Riding Hood, readers review the classic story in a brand new way, with twists in the story, more diverse characters, and featuring Japanese aesthetics incorporated throughout. Red Riding Hood is part of a series published by Capstone and written by various artists with unique takes on your childhood favorites. Look out for Red Riding Hood, available on Amazon and your local bookstores. Congratulations, Christina, on your first published book. The link is in the show description. Hello, Guardians. Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I am your host, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the Lore of the Light, Josh Finney.
Are you just going to come up with a different name every week?
I am, until something good sticks, because I think they're getting worse, though, to be fair.
They are. They're getting progressively worse. I feel like Lore Corner is getting better, but the names are getting increasingly bad.
Yeah, they're getting, the lore, good. The better the lore gets, the worse the names get.
You just got to keep you grounded, Josh. We got to bring you back down. You know?
Yeah. So, Josh, we pulled from Tower Casuals LFG again this week. We have the special guest, A1 Johnnny.
One and only.
How are you, sir?
Doing good.
Awesome.
Excited to dig into these new spicy stasis powers we got a little look at today.
Yeah, it's exciting. For those who don't know, Gamescom opening night happened today, or yesterday if you're listening to this on Friday. We got a little bit over 2-minute trailer of Beyond Light with showing the stasis powers and showing the new subclasses, and man, do they know how to make a good-looking gameplay trailer. I think
it was gorgeous.
I think literally everybody else needs to take notes because
this is how you do a gameplay trailer and still make it feel cinematic.
Yeah. So overall, what do you guys think of the trailer? I guess we'll just kind of get into it.
Yeah, let's just dive on in. I really like that we got a little preview of each class instead of just random stasis abilities thrown in there. We got to see the Gandalf staff for the warlocks, the ice picks that literally nobody understands what the hunter is doing, but it's awesome. And then the Titan is just, of course, beating the shit out of absolutely everything with ice fists. It's like you're a better Iceman. It's like Iceman meets Colossus, and I'm here for it.
They're icy Hulk hands, you know?
Icy Hulk hands! Yes! There we go.
It was awesome. Yeah, I as a Titan, I'm really into this. I think somebody's been playing a lot of Overwatch because it really reminded me of the May ice walls, but kind of like sharp and cool looking.
I'm excited to see the melee ability. It looks very similar to the Code of the Missile melee ability, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
I am a little disappointed to see that the Titan Super is also another roaming super. I was kind of hoping for something that might be viable in a raid, or Josh and I have talked in the past about how Titans kind of feel underwhelming in raids outside of one bubble.
Yeah.
But
so I want to address that real quick because I'm glad you brought this up now because I was going to bring it up later. So right now we've only seen a preview of one super from each class.
Sure.
I do wonder if we're going to get 3 supers right off the bat for each, or if maybe they'll give us the one and then because they've made it really clear in the follow-up posts and in the TWAB and stuff that each of these are AoE supers. Mm-hmm. They look like they're all going to be really good, specifically in the Crucible, maybe in some Nightfalls. But like you said, boss damage, aside from maybe the Warlock one, I'm really not feeling like they're going to be big for boss.
Yeah.
There's got to be some other ones, but I'm thinking Bungie doesn't want to blow their wad here right away. They want to save something for either later on in the season or even next fall. As we're going to get into later on, one of the things that was brought this week and as Cross's video was Luke Smith basically pitched to a lot of content creators, what do you want in Destiny 3 or in an extension of this game? And the overwhelming answer was more RPG elements. We've seen the game take those steps. I'm hoping we get some new trees going. Maybe this super and this stasis tree is the beginning and the preview of what that can look like going forward.
Definitely. And they did say we'll see more of them on the 1st, the 3rd, and the 8th. They're going to deep dive into each class's stasis trees.
So we're going to start off with the Warlock. Then on the 3rd, we're going to get the Titan, and on the 8th, we'll get the Hunter. And it's worth noting that they're naming each of these supers as well. I don't have those names in front of me right now. I know the Hunter is Revenant, and
the Hunter. Like you said, Revenant is the Hunter, Behemoth is the Titan, and then the Warlock is the Shadebinder.
Gotcha, Shade. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I'm really digging the special abilities we're seeing here, especially the grenade effects on all three. I think are going to be awesome. The Hunter one in particular, I think, is insanely broken already. There's no way that people are not going to be using that ice wall to get to out of bounds places or to find shortcuts. And I'm here for it, especially to see it used in the raid race, which you just know somebody's going to do it on their first run to the Deepstone Crypt.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited to see what this means for speedrunning in particular for the community. That is an ability I really, really want to see going forward. And also the stasis field, slowing them down and then aiming down your sights. I'm here for it. As someone who plays a ranged character a lot of the time, I love it.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of pairing that with Wither Horde. That big stasis freezing field, shoot a Wither Horde right in the middle of it. Keep running.
It's funny that you mentioned that you mentioned Wither Horde, because I thought that when I saw the freeze ability, when I saw all the enemies just freeze, and they're almost like obstacles out there. I thought of running in there with a nice little Death Adder or Ikelos SMG and just mowing down powerful enemies that are frozen in their tracks, doing extra damage to them. Maybe you have somebody else on your team running Oppressive Darkness, and just the build combinations. We're gonna have to rethink the entire way that we play this game this fall, and I'm so here for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why we really want to talk to you today, John. You make these wacky builds every season. If anybody makes mention of like, hey, this was really OP in a specific encounter, you sit down and you try to make a build, and then you share it with me, and I try to make a build, and nobody else follows us. We are the only ones who ever do it in our play group. Specifically charged with light this season. You and I both we got interested in Dawn, and this season I think is where it really became a viable strategy, especially in endgame content. I think you have to embrace the seasonal mods if you really want to be able to do things at the proper light level.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to flesh out whatever you're trying to do. You can enhance it if you have the extra mod slots on your armor,
Right.
Even just something as if you're using a fusion or a shotgun in the Crucible, there's a charge with light mod that its side effect is just adding quick draw to your shotgun or your fusion rifle. You don't even have to pick up orbs or anything. It just gives your gun quick draw. So just little things like that can enhance your loadout.
Right. So while we're talking about mods real quick, we'll just go ahead and get this out of the way now. Since we're ripping the Band-Aid off and going straight into stasis at the top. We're gonna have our stasis conversation now. How do you think introducing a new element is going to affect builds going forward? It's already bad enough trying to balance 3 pieces of armor. Now you're adding a 4th element in and probably reslotting some of the existing mods for stasis infused armor now. How do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you have, 4 weapons tied to each element?
I want to say yes. 4 to 5. I think some have more than others.
Yeah, so I guess they could even them out and get 3 for each. Maybe does the math work out on that? I'm not sure. It's definitely going to make things more complicated and probably not the best way. But I'll take that at the cost of getting a whole new elemental type on every character.
Right. And I got to think that at some point in this season, if they're already going to introduce, like we said, they're kind of diving more into the RPG aspect, especially with introducing another class, and with introducing new powers, new darkness powers. Do we think like new weapon types will be introduced then? Maybe those new weapon types will be tied to the stasis armor instead.
Yeah. Which would be interesting, but it would also kind of not feel that great that if you want to play with a brand new weapon type, you have to.
Yeah. Yep.
You know.
You're right.
So,
you're right.
I'm sure Bungie has a plan in place to smooth all that out. I'm sure that was part of it. You know, even things like Hardlight or Borealis, are those going to have 4 activations now? Are they going to add that to that?
My assumption is yes, because if they're already thinking ahead. For example, we're going to get into Solstice a lot deeper later on, but the Solstice glows, they've already confirmed if you buy the elemental glows, right now it's just showing Arc, Solar, and Void. It will glow for Stasis when you get that. So I think they're thinking ahead on those. But I also think the ability to switch elements on some of your guns, I think that's going to become more prevalent. Maybe not like every season we're getting a gun, but I think there'll at least be a gun, maybe even a heavy sword this season or this year that you can switch the elements between.
That or an underlooked perk that I really like, Osmosis. I could see them adding that to
elemental guns.
Add that to elemental guns, and now you have like a mini Hardlight, you know, because right now it only rolls on exotic or on kinetic weapons. Excuse me. So if you had it Osmosis on an energy weapon, it could be, say, it's a solar gun, and you're running the Stasis subclass, so it could be solar or Stasis. You know, because match game's about to become a nightmare.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to get to. Match game it's already bad.
Yeah.
But now I think I'm actually like almost relishing match game now, because I think instead of just people going with what they're best with, it becomes much more about the teamwork between the three, because somebody is always going to be down an element. I mean, often we are now, but now there's other elements to take into consideration. There's champion mods we have to think about. I know you and I have both been a really big fan of the new weapon perks that have been introduced to the pool this year with Osmosis, especially Vorpal weapon. You and I we want Vorpal on everything if we can. Dynamic Sway has become pretty prevalent this season specifically. We figured out it was a really good perk during Season of the Worthy. It's rolling on SMGs now. I
don't have a single weapon in my inventory with Rampage or Kill Clip right now.
It feels great, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's...
But Corey, before we keep rambling and ranting, Stasis thoughts from you. We're just jumping right off the deep end over here.
I mean, I was just listening because this is all very fascinating to just hear other people deep dive on this. But from the little bit that we've seen, and you know, Luke Smith kind of diving in on these, and like I'm really excited to talk more about this in the coming weeks once we get, you know, these other deep dives on the different classes and what they're really doing and stuff. But as a Titan, like, you know, like you said, John, I'm kind of sad that it's a roaming super. You know, I'm tired of always being like the bubble guy. You know, I wish there was something. You know, the ice wall adds a little bit of a dynamic, like a little bit of a protection thing too. Like I know it's not really the super, but it's I just kind of feel like it's the ice version of Striker almost at this point.
Most definitely. And it looks fun, but, you know, unless they change encounters where raids, you really only build for boss melt, and that's all that matters. You know, if we needed to use roaming super for ad clear, like we did in D2 Year 1, not saying we should go back there, you know, but if there was some utility there other than doing everything you can to melt the boss in one phase, then, you know.
Yeah, unless you know that super has like they showed kind of the spreading of the ice that kind of freezes enemies in place. I wonder if that's going to have some sort of you know, I wonder if that's going to have some kind of effect in a future dungeon or the raid or whatever, like maybe, but other than that,
and it could be a general debuff. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and while we're talking about Stasis, I think circling back around to this super point, I think that's something that needs to be addressed with the game in general right now. Is when you're building for boss DPS in a raid specifically, outside of Celestial Nighthawk, so like Golden Gun is only viable if you're using Celestial Nighthawk. If you're a hunter, you got to run Nighthawk or you got to run Tether, and more than one Tether, like what's the point?
Yeah.
Titans, if you have more than one, why do you need more than one bubble? You know, like hammers, sure, you can use them for ad clear, but outside of
maybe point is good.
I mean, sometimes
outside of like maybe the final encounter in Garden, like what other boss encounter are you really going to need to run hammers in right now?
Yeah.
So I think that brings up a really good point. You know, like we have a lot of friends who play Warlocks, and they just kind of groan whenever we're like, "Can you all run well for us? So we just have multiple ones and we can chain them." Like, I guess I really want to run Chaos Reach though, and it's like, well, trust me, I'm all here for anime power moves, okay? But in terms of what actually helps us 90% of the time, the wells are going to keep us alive, so we can just kind of keep doing our thing and not have to worry about killing ads. But we talk about supers a lot of times, and I joke about this. I forget to use my super a lot in boss fights because I'm so used to not having to use it or it being next to useless that I'm just like, well, I'm going to dump all my heavy. Like, I'm just going to xenophage this guy to death and see what happens. And sure enough, there we go, 2.2 million. Like, I don't know what everybody else is doing, but the hunter has become the tank, and that should never be the case. Our Titans should be able to deal some insane damage from long distances. I don't understand that. I love the Superman Yeet. I like the bubble. I like the Striker Titan. I like the Captain America shield. We need to give y'all a precision super, though, that you can shoot from far away and not have to sacrifice yourself to use.
Yeah, which
jump
like
in the air and chuck the big two-handed hammer. You know what
Dude,
I mean?
if you could jump up in the air Dawnblade style and just hurl that thing, I'm imagining hurling it at Argos right now, and it's glorious. I'm imagining just like this hammer dick like sticking out of his eye, and it's great. Saladin is applauding you from the tower right now. He's watching it on a TV, his feet up, a banana daiquiri in hand. He's loving it.
I wish, like, for the Titan stuff, like, I wish it, like you said, like, it's some sort of precision thing. I like throwing the hammers. I wish there would be some sort of, like, almost like another kind of projectile that you could throw, like, maybe not precision,
Give
but
Titans the javelin as a super.
Yeah, like, throw it
This
and,
needs
like,
to be a single activation, like Nova Bomb, Golden Gun. Those are so optimal for DPS because it only takes you a second to use your super, and then you're right into unloading heavy.
Call it the Spear of Justice.
Yes.
It like beams into your hand, and you're aiming, and you chuck that bad boy. You're hoping you don't pull a Josh and completely shank the Golden Gun shot, and when it nails it, the whole group is like, fuck yeah, you just did it. You're the man, you're the man. You didn't have to pop the bubble this time. How does it feel? The problem is when we give y'all a super, y'all ain't ever gonna want to run bubble again.
yeah, well.
So, we saw this happen with the Warlocks. We gave them a fun super, and we gave them a utility super at the same time.
Right.
It's a problem. It's a very real problem plaguing our game.
I mean, I just, you know, when we go into raids, I'm just, well, I guess I'm running Sentinel Titan. I guess I'll throw in my Helm of Saint 14. Don't get me wrong. My favorite helmet.
My absolute favorite memory of playing with you, Corey, is when we did Scourge of the Past for the first time, and we had 4 Titans in that group.
Yeah, we did.
There were 4 bubble Titans in that group. And one was just like, one of the guys was like, can I just throw hammers instead? I'm like, you know what, buddy? Sure. We're in Insurrection Prime. You can do whatever you want to. I really don't care. Just stand on your cat point. That's all you got to do. Just throw those hammers. Throw those hammers to your heart's content. I'm okay with it.
Man, I want to. Man,
I 4 bubbles.
I want to raid again so bad. Like, every time I get on, I'm like, I just feel like I don't have enough time. I miss raiding. Like, I really do. Misrating,
but
a whole lot.
Corey, I'm going to go ahead and do a horrible segue here. You know, when you're raiding, though, you have to build your LFG. You have to make an LFG post, and we have a member of our LFG here, John. We have some questions for you tonight. Get to know our Guardians. We're gonna get to know our LFG.
That was quite a road trip to get to that segue.
That was a road trip to get there. It's
a little whiplash, but we're here. We're going. You know.
But,
Josh, did you include a sandwich question? Did you include the sandwich question?
It's okay. My bourbon is safe.
Did you include a sandwich question?
I swear to God, there is a sandwich question on here. I did write a sandwich question. So we have John joining us tonight. We gotta think of catchy nicknames for all of y'all coming on here. John, our Vanguard commander of the tower, the champion of the Crucible, the champion of the Crucible. There we go.
So he's like Shaxx.
Yeah, he is. You know, the Drifter's Dredgen. Whatever you pick one that you like, and that's what your title will be going forward. But one of the questions we like to ask everybody who comes on here, of course, is what is your connection to the Destiny franchise? How did you get into the game? How did you get started? Are you one of those guys who runs around spamming Cosmos mentions saying, I am a D1 alpha player and I play 300 hours a week and this game just does not have enough content in it? Are you one of those guys or not? That's basically what we're asking here.
I am not, even though I am a D1 beta veteran. I didn't play the alpha.
Get out. It's fired.
I know, I'm trash. I get it. I had to save up money for the PS4. I didn't get it on launch, all right?
I got you.
But Halo meant a lot to me. Halo got me through high school, and so naturally, like a lot of us, I followed Bungie to their next big thing, you know, especially after they left Microsoft. And I dived right in on launch day with Destiny and fell in love with the concept of leveling up a character and finding loot and then bringing that into PvP. That concept just blew my mind, you know, especially back then. You know, multiplayer PvP really was just Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, Battlefield, you know, Gears of War, if that was your thing.
It was very much everybody just uses the same gun and that's it. There was really no tweaking going on. Maybe you could change your sight or your stock, and that was really about it. There wasn't any like hard like weapon chasing going on in any game. And of course, you know, Halo, you just pick up the guns as you go.
Yeah,
and everybody starts.
You're all a different color of the same dude wearing the same armor. You know.
So one of the things that's really kept you going is not just the pursuit of loot, but making your character look cool, getting the best armor perks, and especially as we've seen that evolve throughout Destiny 2, infinitely more than we ever thought it would in Destiny 1. Yeah. And chasing those guns that are, and you know, having to go into also the Crucible or into Gambit now to get guns for PvE. You know, we saw Mountaintop and Recluse, of course, be PvP weapons that we've now had to bring into PvE. Kind of on the heels of that, what's your favorite memory of the franchise? Like just a standout moment for you. Not necessarily. Maybe it was a reveal. Maybe it was something you did with friends. What is your all-time favorite memory of this game?
I think for me, and it's not really a specific instance, but it was moments of triumph last year because I had played. You know, I've played Destiny since the beginning. I've taken breaks like we all do. But until last year, I had never raided. I had never gone into comp. I was afraid to do those things because I was mostly a solo player. Mm-hmm. And last year, in the span of a month, I did 4 raids. I got Recluse. I started really honing in on my Crucible skills. And it was just this overwhelming feeling of accomplishment because it just felt like something I was never, ever going to be able to do, you know? Right. So actually completing the 2019 Moments of Triumph in the span of a month and a half, I think, is when I started it, was just a huge moment for me. It felt like this huge mountain I had climbed, not to steal from Luke's talking points.
Yeah, we both finished our moments on the same day, actually, with Last Wish. So that was a really cool moment. So on top of that, I guess kind of segueing in, your all-time favorite activity across either game. What is your favorite? You know, be it a raid, a strike, maybe a specific story mission, getting an exotic quest done. Yeah, Shattered Throne. Yep.
That is probably my favorite piece of content, and it hurts me eternally that there's no loot grind or any real reason to run it more than twice to get the bow. You know. Yeah. But that's just atmospherically, the art design of everything, the architecture. I love the Shattered Throne. It's peak Destiny is how I put it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I remember the first time that I cleared it. I was talking to my buddy Matt. We were both on chat together, and we both agreed. We're like, this is one of the steps the franchise needed to take. You need endgame PvE that isn't necessarily as brutal as... Because at that time, Nightfalls were still really brutal. And of course, now they have ordeals. But that you can complete with a smaller group than a raid and still feel a sense of accomplishment. I do think with Pit of Heresy, and especially with Prophecy, they've addressed the loot concerns a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
The powerful drops and whatnot. I really wish they would just retroactively go back and, man, throw me a bone. Give me the Taken armor, man. Give me the Taken armor and the Shattered Throne. Like, it's not going away anytime soon, as we'll talk about tonight with Savathun. Yeah. Give me some of that. So, if you could pick any weapon from the Destiny universe and bring it into real life for whatever reason, what would it be and why?
Prometheus lens.
Why? I need to hear the rationale here.
Okay, so if I could pull anything from the game to actually wield in real life, I'm not going to pick a sword. I'm not going to pick a gun. Like Thorn would be cool, but how is that going to be much? I would just get shot down. If I'm going out to war with a gun in real life, Prometheus lens is going to be melting through tanks. There's going to be a huge bubble just growing and growing. It just feels more like a fantasy weapon. I lean towards the sci-fi weaponry more than just, hey, here's a gun.
For sure. The more fantastical elements.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could hang out with one NPC that is in the Destiny universe, and go do any activity with them, who would it be and why?
Oh God, I would love to go into Trials with Saint.
Trials with Saint, just so he can narrate the match in your ear, screaming at you.
That would be awesome.
You'd always have the bubble for the res. He's got no limits.
I started an anime earlier this week. I started My Hero Academia, and I was trying to figure out where the hero All Might, what he reminded me of, and just the way he talks about justice and how over the top he is with encouraging and yelling at the students in the series reminds me so much of Saint in Trials. Oh, you made that look easy! They never saw it coming! Him and Shaxx would fit in that universe so perfectly. Salad, on the other hand, would be no. Congratulations, you did your job. Good job. The other two are, fanboying over you, though. I love it. If Zavala made a cocktail, what would he make? And would he enjoy it? What kind of cocktail man do you think that Zavala is? We had this debate last week, but I need your input.
I think my man there on the tower, I think he drinks martinis dry.
You think Zavala drinks a dry martini?
Yes. Just that little bit of that subtle fancy. It's simple. There's nothing, it's just vermouth and booze. And it's...
See, I envision him more as a gin and tonic man. Something simple and classic. This was just an absolutely great conversation we had last week with Willow. As to what each person drinks. Personally, I think Raul partakes in Shirley Temples. He doesn't partake in the worldly alcohol. And I mean, you know, Tess is doing tequila shots behind the Eververse counter. You just know it.
No, I think Tess is drinking virgin drinks and getting people's money while they're wasted. You know what I mean?
Dude, she's a hustler. Have you seen that Iron Banner finisher? She's a hustler.
She's going to be there doing shots of water, waiting for everyone to get drunk and walking away with everyone's money,
Plot twist, Tess Everest is Luke Smith IRL. That's right, you heard it here on the Tower Casuals first.
Wow.
No.
One final question for you. Because we can't seem to get through an episode of this stupid show without talking about sandwiches. If the Drifter had an order at a sandwich joint, what would it be? What's on it? Is my man, like, you got to pile every kind of meat on there, or is he a little bit on the leaner side? Does he like the wraps? What kind of sandwich does a drifter get? What's his
wrap
order?
sounds really good right now, actually. I'm like really hungry, by the way.
God!
An Earl sandwich would be awesome right now.
Pulled pork with cheddar and jalapenos.
So he's got to get the carbs. He's got to get the spiciness. But pulled pork, man, we got a ghost named pulled pork. We can't just name a sandwich after that.
Oh, he would make a joke about it every time he ordered it, even though he orders the same thing every week. You know the drifter would be in there.
Like, do you think he just like stares Aldrin down and like deliberately walks by him with his order in the tower cafeteria? Like, do you think that's happening? Do you think he just like transmats to old Russia and goes and finds him in the shipping container? He's like, oh, guess what I got for lunch today?
He's fucking with Aldrin for sure. He's probably the only one on the tower who's interacted with Aldrin since he was risen.
Oh, he 100% knows where this man is, has given him a gun, has given him a ship. He has given this dude everything, and Aldrin's probably just like, dude, who the fuck are you? Like, leave me alone. You keep making jokes about my ghost and naming sandwiches after him. We can't do it. So, John, what would the Drifter's sandwich be called?
Oh, man.
With jalapenos and like what cheese on there? Like, is it like nacho cheese? Is it
cheddar? Cheddar melted.
Melted cheddar.
By the jalapenos in there. I'm gonna say the old world armadillo.
The old world armadillo. The Dark Age armadillo. There we go. Earl Sandwich social accounts. We know you're listening. Please make this a sandwich for Corey and I. I'll order it. Please.
Please.
But John, thank you for joining us for our Tower Casuals LFG segment, of course, and look forward to many more of our friends joining us over the coming weeks as we highlight some of our favorite players and content creators that we associate with. With that, though, Corey, I think it's time for us to go to our exotic engram this week. Our favorite drops that we've gotten. John, we'll waive the last week rule for you. Your favorite drop in the last few weeks will be suitable. That'll be totally fine. If you want to go ahead and lead us off with that, I have a feeling I know what gun you're talking about, but go ahead.
Okay. First in, last out.
Nope, that was not the one I was thinking of. All right. Tell us about your first in, last out roll, and then I'll tell you which one I was thinking of.
So I'm something of a slug shotgun connoisseur. I absolutely love Chaperone, Blasphemer, good bone structure, and this in a post-sunsetting world is something that I'll be able to take forward as good bone structure and Blasphemer are on the way out. I got a roll with Slide Shot, Eye of the Storm, Hammerforged Rifling, and Range Masterwork, and I have been absolutely slaying with that thing for the past 2 weeks, pairing it with Vigilance Wing, of all things.
Okay. So give us the rundown for people who might not know. Give us the rundown on Eye of the Storm. What the perk is, what doesn't, why is it particularly good on a slug shotty?
So it boosts handling as your health gets lower, and even with the slug shotgun's range, if you think about when you're whipping out a shotgun, you're probably going to be running right at them, running away from someone. You're going to be taking damage. I really like it on shotguns and sidearms for that reason, because that's usually when you're going to be using those weapons. You're usually going to be taking damage in close quarter combat, and in lieu of quick draw, it just gives you that extra little boost to line up the headshot, because unlike normal shotguns, you can't just aim at center mass and hope for the best. You got to take that extra second to pull it up ADS and land the headshot, and it just that with the is it assault mag that boosts the rate of fire as well?
I want to say yes.
Yeah, it just feels like smooth butter. I've been loving it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And with Slide Shot and the perk on the Code of the Missile subtree, where you auto reload when sliding over ammo and get a damage boost. So it's just kind of all works together. I'm constantly sliding because Code of the Missile is all I run in the Crucible, anyways.
I can confirm this. I have been thwarted from getting extra special ammo many a time in trials. I'm sitting here trying to stockpile an extra Jotun shot or two, and John's like, nope! He's just sliding in front of me. Yeah, the amount of times that I've lost special ammo to this man. He's not even using the slidey pants.
The slidey
Corey,
pants.
Yes, the Entei swords. I don't know if you heard about how bad it was at the beginning of Trials, Corey, but everyone suddenly figured out these were really good pants to wear on Titans. You slide and somebody is shooting at you, it'll shoot the projectile back at them. So they were using it.
Super energy.
Yeah, for everybody that was throwing a super or who was shooting a fusion, aka me, at an enemy, they would slide and it would get bounced back, and you just hear fuck, fuck, fuck coming from the microphone because you just knew it had happened to somebody. Just the Titans sliding everywhere. It was a nightmare. It was terrible. Thankfully, they nerfed it a tiny little bit. They tweaked it just enough to where people are not running it relentlessly anymore.
That's awesome. It sounds like pants I need to wear.
You know what? You may very well need to. Did you by chance get them in your drop this week, Corey?
No, I did not. I didn't really get anything too exciting. I got these gauntlets called Ursa Furiosa, which is I mean Sentinel gauntlets for the shield, whatever. They're fine, right? I think they came Forsaken, one of those seasons.
Yeah, it came with Forsaken with that super.
Guess what?
I love that. They're fine.
They're fine. They went straight into my vault. So
if the middle tree ever gets buffed, they're amazing because you will get almost half your super back just for blocking damage off of that thing.
Jeez.
Yeah, but unfortunately, back in the day, you could stand in front of a well and double stack the damage boost from the well and from guarding, but they ended that, so now they're basically useless, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it seems to be
like about half of the class exotics in this game. They're useless.
I mean, let me tell you. Okay, I get exotics after they're good. Okay, that's kind of my thing. So I did get a lot of Destiny 1 exotics to drop this week for some reason. I got Soros Regime again. That was cool.
Nice.
I got Queen Breaker, which was whatever. Okay.
It's good in precisely one encounter.
Yeah. It's like okay. I wanted this all of Destiny 1, and now I get it, and I'm like, dismantle. And then I got Lord of Wolves again, so it wasn't a very good week for me.
It's not even just a Destiny 1 thing. It seems like House of Wolves is calling to you, Corey.
I know. I should have worn my House of Wolves shirt tonight. I washed it. It's nice.
You should have. I got nothing exciting this week.
I'm
still riding my high of a few weeks ago. Just in case anybody forgot, from Josh's greatest weekend of loot ever, my last piece that I got that I've been waiting to talk about are those sexy Crown of Sorrow Hunter boots. I saved all 3 pairs that I got. They are all in my vault. I'm not deleting them. I'm keeping one because it actually has a really good stat roll on. I think I got like a natural 66 on one of them. That sucker is staying, and the one that rolled at like a 52 is being transmogged as soon as I can. Bungie, I will pay you actual dollars, bungo bucks. I will give them to you so that I can wear those everywhere. The Black Panther claws are never coming off. That's it. Forget ever matching. I'm wearing them forever. Uncle Callus needs to see them. He needs to know that I'm still thinking about him after he runs away this fall or gets yeeted into the sun. One of the two.
It's gonna be one of the other.
Literally, there are only 2 extremes. I mean, he can't just hang out above Nessus for a whole year without us being able to see him. So
now he's gonna park over the EDZ.
I would love that. I would low-key love if they just like pivoted the Leviathan to come to Earth and then just like didn't do anything with it for a whole year in the most Bungie fashion possible.
Yeah, Zavala forbids anyone from entering or whatever, They
told us that about old Russia, and we still went back to go get Thunderlord and back for a few other things. So who knows how that one's gonna go?
Yeah. So,
but yeah, that's my own drop. I'm still riding the high from about a month ago on that. So I guess I'm going to actually have to get a good drop to talk about next week.
I am supposed to be running Pit of Heresy with Willow and Mitch this week, so this weekend, so I should finally
Is
be able
this finally... It will next week finally be the week that Corey can talk about how much he loves Xenophage and will never ever take it off.
I hope so. I'm as much as I love Outbreak Perfected and Ruinous Effigy. It's time. It's time to switch it up.
Dude, and when you're holding, I was initially skeptical about a single shot machine gun. But let me tell you something. You feel like a god holding that gun in Gambit. You pair that with Divinity, and just, man, the Divinity may be a sword. The Primeval literally is melted. Drifter is not even getting the words out before that Primeval is gone. You melted your Primeval right in front of the enemy while they're invading. You didn't care.
And I swear to God, if they nerf Xenophage like they did our exotic linear fusions just because it's good in Gambit, I'm going to be very upset.
Well, get ready to be very upset, because I guarantee you it's happening in the fall. Xenophage is so OP in Gambit! Mm-hmm. Okay.
I never got to use Sleeper Stimulant when it was good. I never got it in D1, and I didn't get it in D2 until after it got nerfed into the ground. And it just makes me sad inside.
I earned it the day that it got nerfed.
It died for Gambit sins, and I'm not okay with it.
I'm okay with a lot of things with Gambit, but that's a whole other topic.
It's like everybody who got Galahorn like 3 weeks in Destiny 1 before they nerfed the crap out of it.
I love that it's a day that the subreddit celebrates every year now, Galahorn Day. Yeah. And Bungie is all in on it, and they just allow shitposts like crazy for 24 hours. It's fantastic. People make fun of the mods, they make fun of the community managers. It's fantastic. I love Galahorn Day. That was truly a moment in this community. I think that was the first moment where it was like, you had to be there to understand why people went nuts.
Yeah.
Everyone ran to Xur that day. There was just they formed a very orderly line where Xur was in my game in the tower. They just formed the line. They waited for the person in front of them to get done. Nobody skipped the line. It was fantastic. It was hilarious. We were all waiting for it for so long, and I'm just standing there cheering everyone on. I got this in week 3, but I'm glad you guys finally got it a year later. I got permanent invites to LFGs because of this gun. It's great.
I mean, I pulled it out of the chest at Prison of Elders, so I was all right with it. So. I
will always and forever love. Oh God, it was the Fallen Strike on Venus, the House of Winter one.
Oh yeah,
a self. Prison of Elders. I will always remember hiding underneath the platform in the upper left-hand corner of the arena, or upper right of the arena, if you're facing towards the boss. Hiding under there, because that was the only safe spot in week 3 or 4 to hide from it. Galahorn drops. None of us knew how good it was at the time. It would not become apparent until Crota. And one of the guys was like, ugh. An exotic rocket launcher? Why would you waste an exotic on that? I was like, hey, Wolfpack round sounds kind of dope. It looks so cool when you fire it. I'm keeping this. And lo and behold, from then on, LFGs wanted us because I had the Galahorn. It's fantastic. That is my favorite memory. Permanent LFG invites. But
oh man, good times, everybody.
Good times. So instead of doing our raid report this week, we are still doing it, but none of us did any sort of endgame activity this week that's new. So we're going to use this opportunity to talk about Solstice, which we meant to do last week with Willow. The pros, the cons, what do they still need to fix when this is our second year in the EAZ?
Oh my gosh, dude, I can't stand the EAZ. It makes me it makes me not want this armor, dude. I went in there. It's like the longest 10 minutes of your entire life. It's just nobody really knows what they're doing. It's just go kill the bosses and let's get this over with and open your stupid hidden chests and let's get out of here. I don't know if I just got matched with a bad batch of people or what, but I was just come on guys, this is stupid.
So are you solo queuing when you do it? That's my first question.
Yeah, well I did do it with Mitch the other day, But yeah, the first time I did a solo queue, and that was a really bad decision. It was just...
I'll be completely honest. I did the bare minimum needed for my armor, and then I did not touch it. So I got it all done in 2 days.
Yep.
The easy portion. I made sure that was the first thing I went and did, so that I didn't have to do it anymore. It's not that it's a bad zone. I actually really like the verticality of it. It's just I played so much. You had to do so much more last year for the armor that I felt the same way that I did when the Haunted Forest came back last year. Like, oh god, but it's so much of this last year. I don't want to do this again. I swear to God, if I have to come back here a third time next year and it's not better, I might actually scream.
Completely unchanged too. No new bosses, no new encounters.
Completely unchanged. Completely. It's... Listen, I like that they have these little zones for the seasonal events. I'm down with it. I dig it.
Yeah.
But man, you could not think of a more boring thing to do. And it's just so bad with randos. Like, I feel like this space would be really fun if you had 10 minutes and there were 6 people dumped into it. I think that would just be bonkers. Supers flying everywhere. But with 3 people, even when you're with if it's 2 homies, you're just like, man, it's boring. You're playing together, but you have to go off on your own to try and get some of these guys down. It's not fun.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It sucks. It makes me...
The key to chess, the key to box ratio is abysmal in this game. I should be able to earn packages from any source. I should not have to go into the EAZ to get the packages. I'm just saying.
It's stupid.
Let me buy them for like 3K, 3 to 5K glimmer from Summer Grandma, and just call it a day. Let me get them there. Let me earn them in straights. Let me earn them from
legendary engrams from wherever you get those. You get Solstice packages instead. You know,
and I swear to God,
you get enhancement materials. Once you get your armor leveled up, you get high stat roll chances on the armor. You know,
it's fine once you do that. Like, I don't mind, and like my armor rolled pretty decently to begin with, in all honesty. So, how much do I really care? Because sure, I'm going to
ornaments.
Yeah. Like I'm. It's just going to become an ornament. Like, I'm not actually going to wear this. I have other armor that I masterworked last season that will continue through at least the fall season.
Yeah.
The first season of Beyond Light. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, I kind of like that backpack looking piece for the hunters. Like, I'm probably going to masterwork some of the armor from Beyond Light's trailer today because it looks way better than the Dreambane stuff ever did. I'll do that, but I don't know. The flashy look has never done it for me as a hunter, and that cape is just a safety hazard. There's a big bottle opener on the back. Like, I'm gonna get caught on a building. How has my guardian not just like snapped his neck yet? It makes no logical sense.
You usually have like some sort of handle on their chest or shoulder, you know, just.
Dude, you have the dishcloth of justice. I'm saying, like, I will say though, this is far and away in all my years of playing Moments of Triumph. This is my 4th Moments of Triumph I think I've gone through. Yeah, 4th, because they did much more than that, but that they actually did special armor for. I think this is the best armor set by a mile that they've ever done. Last year's looked the same as the year before, and that really disgruntled a lot of people, myself included. And I was like, oh, well, if the armor is going to be exactly the same this year, I don't know if I'm going to kill myself doing this. Then we saw the leaked image. I'm like, okay, you can get a glow just from masterworking your armor. It gives you the glow from completing the final objective, and those range from the absurdly easy. Complete a nightmare hunt. Single nightmare hunt, not a master one, like a single nightmare hunt. I did it in 5 minutes. I speedran Skolas. It was fantastic. To the truly baffling for some PvPers or people who actively avoid PvP, having to get 7 trials wins, not on the single card, but 7 trials wins, and that for some people is quite a challenge. I don't blame them for being upset about it. And I think the Master Nightmare Hunt is just what tops it all off for me. It's like, dang, like, I remember when we did the Master Nightmare Hunt and Shadow keeps releasing. I have no desire to go do another one of these at all. Like, I have negative zero desire to go do another one of these. I will wait until Lake of Shadows comes back in the rotation.
That's our weekly.
Yep, Lake of Shadows, baby. I am not doing it on the IO strikes. I'm not doing it on the corrupted
strikes are just a nightmare. Like
I don't hate myself enough is the thing.
I really wish they would have counted stuff that you've done like over, maybe not like over the entire year or the entire year, but like maybe the last season or so.
I think the only thing that I would make the argument on for that is the trials wins. I think that is, especially for people who already went and did it for the triumph, I think that's asking a little bit much to go get another 7 wins. Except for these people who are like, oh, trials is easy. Like, I got 7 wins and I didn't even try. Like, hurdy-durdy-dur. And like, good for you, dude. I'm glad if I get 3. Hell, I'm glad to get the weekly bounty done for the loot drop at this point. I will cheese my way to this. I will lose my way to Summoner once again if I have to.
Yeah.
A small thing that I wish they would have changed between last year's event and this one is I think the bonus that you get for using the subclass of the day is really cool. The elemental effect that you get from picking up 30 elemental orbs. But they always seem to go off after you clear all the enemies, run through the dead bodies, and then you're just running for the next 2 minutes in a strike, and you're sitting there exploding with fire with nothing around. If that had an activation, once you had 30, it would be so much more useful, because you almost always fill that off at the end of an engagement,
So something I'd like to see instead of the orb collecting next year is do it similar to how they did. John, I think this happened right before you got back into the game last year, the Revelry, and it just like super powered your solar abilities for like 2 weeks. What if on each day, instead of having to pick up, or you still pick up orbs, but instead of that triggering it, you automatically have like a solar arc or void buff on you. Like if you're using those weapons through those subclasses, you're doing more damage.
Yeah.
Like, I just like, even if it's the strike modifier, like, take the strike modifier, maybe slap another, like, 12 to 15% on it. I think that would incentivize some people who are afraid of doing raids or doing trials, like, into, like, hey, you actually have an advantage. You can go do this. You have a better chance statistically at completing this activity. Because I remember a lot of people that I knew went and did all the raids they hadn't done yet during the Revelry. They just all ran Solar Supers. Like 4 Celestial Nighthawks were taking down Insurrection Prime because of the buff.
Wow.
That's part of why it didn't come back, because the event was so broken. But figure out a way to modify that, and I think that would just be really, really cool. You gotta find a bet, like auto collect the orbs so we don't have to run through them.
Yeah,
I can't fly out of time. I've thrown myself off a cliff trying to get 4 or 5 orbs that are rolling off. Like, my body sacrifices for those orbs. It better count. Just, I think I'm a little over it. But the question that I know Willow was wanting to address this last week, and I want to pose it to both of you guys. What do you guys feel about the way that the Eververse is going with this particular seasonal event? We all know what they said back in the Schwab earlier this year, that this is going to be reduced. How do we feel about there being multiple rewards in there that feel like they could be tied to triumphs instead? And I'm not saying like, yank everything out of the Eververse. I'm talking like, we've got 2 Sparrows, for example. We've got a ship. We've got some ghost projections. We've got some transmat effects. Like, should we be tying some of those to incentivize us, or even putting them in some of the chests in the EAZ maybe, to incentivize us to go keep doing those?
Go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say, like, I think that maybe you could do both. People who want to grind them out can go grind them out, but people who just want to buy them and don't have the time and have, deep pockets can just be like, oh, I'm going to buy some silver, or I have enough bright dust to get some things, I think there's a way that you could balance it and do both. But then that argues the question of like, oh, it's pay to win sometimes. And you're like, no, it's just cosmetic stuff. And You know, maybe an ornament
if your Sparrow
here.
is helping you win, then we need to look at what you're
Hey,
actually.
Sparrow Racing League.
Not a thing. So
It could come back. You don't know.
and it's always going to be Scooty Puff Jr. at that point. I mean, come on, there is no other option.
I bought one yesterday.
One of us.
I bought it. I'm not. I don't know
I know
if
you
I'm
have
proud.
strong feelings in the Eververse. You and I tend to think about the same way on this.
Yeah. I don't think it's that big of an issue because it's Bright Dust. You earn it every week if you're doing your weeklies. I mean, and I don't think there's anything in there that. I mean, I guess it's hard for me to put in perspective because I play a lot. I have 2,400 hours in a D2. So maybe for someone who only gets to play a couple hours a week, it's a 6K Bright Dust is a lot.
Right.
But you can still. I like that you can masterwork the armor set and get that white glow. You don't have to drop a cent in the Eververse.
Personally, I think the white glow looks better than the elemental ones. Except the
Stasis. That in the squab. That the ornamental elemental sets are going to be tuned up a little bit because they're a lot dimmer than the white glow. Yeah. But I like that you can.
I just like the white aesthetic coming from the armor. It doesn't even have to do with the power of the glow. I just think it looks more natural, personally.
Okay.
I think that's why I like it. I do really like the stasis glow, though. So I was inclined to maybe fork out for the glow, but I don't know if I want. Again, then it comes down to, well, do I want to drop the 6K Bright Dust or the 1,500 silver? And I think when it's something like an armor glow or like the cowboy hat ghost, the silly sparrow, the beach ball transmats, like things like that, I think that's for a summer event. Like that is something that you put in the Eververse, right? I don't need to go earn a ghost that wears a tennis visor for doing runs in the EAZ. But I do think that the ship and the sparrows that are like lightning themed, that are cracked just like the armor, I think those would be cool things to earn. Like, hey, maybe you do 6 weekly bounties. The event is 4 weeks long. Do 6 weeklies from Summer Grandma and get one of the sparrows. Complete 15 more runs to the EAZ and get the ship. 2,000 elements more, get through the trans, something like that. Like, I think things that are actually themed, like armor themed to it. We've had this discussion, and this is something that Luke says they are addressing. This stuff was already planned in advance, so they couldn't go yanking it out, to our knowledge. I think Dan even addressed it, but
that's exactly why I don't want to rake them over the coals about it, because they had already addressed that. It's a free event right before our new big expansion where they said they're reworking some of these systems.
I'm not raking them over the coals or anything. I think that I do think there are some valid. There are still some valid critiques, even with some of the things they've said in the past. I do think, for example, I think 6K Bright Dust is a little bit steep. Now that it's a universal ornament and you're not having to buy it for each character, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But I do, and that's a whole other conversation about Eververse pricing and how that needs to be modified. It's disproportionate for certain things depending on what you're getting. But yeah, I think it's in an okay place. Like the emotes are fun. The only thing that I would be like, why is this dropping during a summer event? Is the Iron Banner finisher?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Riddle me this: what if that would have been a season-long Iron Banner questline reward instead of a pinnacle weapon or something? They gave us that finisher.
Rank up Salad Man enough, and you get the Iron Banner finisher.
Rank up Salad Man enough. Do the quest. Similar to Point of the Stag. Do a quest like that. Do something that can't be done in just like a day. Like you actually got to kind of work at this. I think that would be a really cool reward. Like you were dedicated enough to go get this, instead of just giving us a reskin of another ship or a crappy ornament we're never going to use. Give me a finisher, man. I'd love to. I would 100% grind out for an awesome finisher like that in the game. Give me an Emperor Palpatine finisher where I shoot lightning from my fingertips. Give me that for this summer event. That would have been
slamming someone with a volleyball or something stupid.
That would be hilarious.
I'd 100% buy a beach ball finisher, dude. I'd be here for it.
They have that beach ball transmat thing.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't want to I will.
I'm just saying the beach ball's already in the game. Just
I 100% got the lightning entrance because I think it just looks so cool. And I threw it on my warlock so that I look like Storm when I spawn in. I couldn't help myself.
Where's our Destiny Marvel crossover event where we can just be Storm and Wolverine?
No, because then the hunters have to be Hawkeye. Come on, man.
It's not my fault you chose a hunter.
As long as I can be Daredevil or like Bullseye, then I'm okay with it. But guys, do we have any more thoughts on the Solstice event as a whole? Any positive or less positive topics that we want to bring up in relation to this? I feel it's kind of the same song and dance every year at this point.
Yeah.
Kind of everything that's been said is going to be said. We just haven't had a Solstice discussion yet.
I do want to throw out one thing that I absolutely love, one thing they did change. The bonus progression on your second and third sets is a godsend.
Yes.
I did 2 sets last year, and I could not force myself to do a third. This year, but I did my Hunter in a session and a half with that ×3 modifier.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm probably going to do it on at least my Warlock now. I might even do it on my Titan just because, man, as universal ornaments, those are just so awesome.
Yeah.
I need those. I absolutely need those. So, also, what I've heard is once you get the set fully upgraded and you're unlocking the glows, if you do something and you have the legendary set on all 3, it will unlock the glow on all those pieces.
Yep, you only need to do it on one character. You just need to have the Majestic set on all your other characters first.
And wish I wouldn't have done that Nightmare Hunt already. I'm kidding. If I had done the 7 trials wins and not realized that, I think I would have just cried.
You liked it. You liked it.
I do definitely want to go get the Warlock set. I think it's by far the best looking. I like the Hunter set, but man, that Warlock set is just incredible.
Selfishly, as a Titan, I love that it exactly matches Heart of Inmost Light, the chest exotic. It looks exactly the same kind of crack. The light isn't as strong that's glowing through it, you know.
I like I said, I think it's the best armor design they've done in any of these. Personally, I think it's probably my favorite seasonal armor that they've done this year. Like when I look at the Vex Offensive, I look at the Season of Dawn armor, Season of the Worthy, and Season of Arrivals seasonal stuff. I consider this to be a seasonal set. This is my personal favorite set you could earn that is not actual armor ornaments already. So it's hard to beat the same 14 ornaments from Dawn.
Yeah.
But so positive steps. But guys, seriously, the EAZ needs some work. You got to do something next year. It's bad. It's real bad.
Make it a Crucible map.
If they made that a Crucible map, I'd make a Destiny big team battle on the EAZ.
12v12 on the EAZ. Find you there.
My God. Dude, I would. Man, that is the
Pharaoh's active, the whole thing.
That is the stuff of dreams, I think. That is something I would love to see. I'd like to see Combined Arms come back, just as an aside. I was, again, one of a handful of people who actually enjoyed that mode in Destiny 1. And I love that Crucible map is actually a patrol zone now in the Moon one.
Yeah.
So I really
man. I remember that from the Destiny 1 beta. That you're talking about the one with the huge vehicle, right? That you could drive around.
Yeah, you could get the interceptors and drive them around.
Yeah,
and there were turrets in front of the buildings too.
There were turrets in front of the buildings. You could use your Sparrow, and I would just fly over. Somebody would distract. I'd fly over on my Sparrow and just start assassinating everybody. It was fantastic. I loved it. I want it back. You've given me almost all the Destiny 1 maps that I like. Just bring that one back now.
Can't believe we didn't give
You already gave me Exodus Blue. Give me the Combined Arms back now.
Myth Cauldron trials on that map right now.
Oof. But we do have one more piece of news. I'm gonna try to speed this up just a little bit. We're starting to go a little long on time.
No, that's not true.
So a couple days ago, by the time y'all are listening to this, it'll have been a few days. But prominent Destiny content creator Astacross put out someone that John and I both love watching and listening to. Always has some of the most fun builds that we're excited to go try. He made a video talking about the Destiny content vault. And and kind of like the real reason why it exists. I've got an article that Paul Tassi wrote up about it, just so I don't have to try and ad-lib this necessarily. But the theory that we've all been operating on is that it was to save space, it was to reduce the file size. This stuff's been around for years, and that's how it's kind of been presented. I know John and I, and Corey, you and I have also talked about this. We've always kind of felt there was something else to it. I have been a very staunch believer, even before they announced the Vault, that Destiny 1's zones and raids would eventually be brought forward. And especially with the Cosmodrome announcement, that's coming true now. He specifically talks in his video about having an 8-hour meeting with Luke Smith, some senior designers, and some other prominent content creators. I'm not going to speculate on who was there, but you can kind of draw your own conclusions for who may or may not have been there.
I was there.
Yes, Corey was there representing the Tower Casuals before it was even a show.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like an NDA was broken here. I just want to get that out of the way real quick. But he basically asked them for their feelings on a Destiny 3. The group was listing off things like they wanted the RPG aspects like we talked about earlier, bigger patrol areas, and Luke essentially says all of this is possible. We don't have to do a Destiny 3. We can refresh Destiny 2. And explain the philosophy of the content vault to them. So basically the idea is they're going to take the zones out, they're going to rework them and retool them to better support almost a new game engine. Basically, and he essentially alluded to next fall 2021 is when we're going to sunset the soon-to-be legacy consoles that we're playing on, Xbox One and PS4. This is not surprising. The engine for Destiny 2, as we've covered ad nauseum, is old. It is so riddled with bugs. Something that we've heard the phrase before from Luke himself is spaghetti code. That it is just so garbled, and that's why it takes so long to make some of these changes, or why it's just randomly guns will just break the game out of nowhere. Guns that have been here forever. I know the joke is it's always Telesto's fault. Telesto is deleting the game for us.
I hate Telesto. Oh my gosh! If I get another Telesto this year, I'm gonna delete Destiny forever and then re-download it because I won't be that angry.
Because you're a glutton for punishment.
I hate Telesto, dude. Every time, it's like, oh, you got an exotic engram.
Kind of coming away from this, I think we were all on the same page seeing this as, okay, this content it's going away and it'll probably be gone for the whole year, but it may be back as soon as next fall. Because I actually think next fall, even if you have the next-gen version installed, I think you're going to have to download a new client, re-download the game with the new engine in it. I think they've secretly been patching things behind the scenes. We've seen a lot more server-side fixes being able to happen where they don't have to throw things into a hot fix for Microsoft and Sony to approve. They're just able to flip a switch, and there it goes. I think that's a lot of the goal here, is to be able just to do things on their side, and they can't currently do that in the engine. With little modifications they've done, we know when they pulled it down last year, they made some changes that allowed them to make server-side changes better. The game has never really been down for more than 24 hours at a time, though. The first time that even happened was with the mitigation from Battle.net to Steam. We had it down for chunks of time that summer.
Yeah.
So, taking away from this, the content's probably going to come back sooner than we think, and I really want to focus on this one before we open it up for all of us to talk about. Is that Beyond Light is a test of what a Destiny zone should be. No one quite knows what he's talking about, but the idea is that the size and scale of Europa and the Cosmodrome should give an indication of what they're aiming to achieve with these zones in the future. With even rebuilt ones or revamped ones from Destiny 1. I think it's great. They're giving us a new zone, and they're giving us the classic starting area from Destiny 1 reimagined. How are these going to look? Is the Cosmodrome going to also include the Plague Lands? Is that possible? Or is it just classic Cosmodrome with some expansions made to it? What all are we going to do here? Because there's just so many possibilities.
Did the Plaguelands the Siva stuff from Rise of Iron?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, the snowy area.
Yeah, that's what I thought. We always just said, Siva,
And
Siva
parts of
drone.
it overlapped with like the divide and the wall and whatnot in Destiny 1. So it's like, okay, are we I mean, the Sepix Prime area overlaps with it. Like, are we gonna do this? Like, I think you kind of have to, because that canonically happens after the initial D1 events.
Yeah.
So
I was just
and that's why that was the story reason given for why we did not go back there this game so far, is because of all Order quarantined.
Yeah, we just always called it the Siva drone.
I love that. But I want to open up to you guys. What do y'all think about this? Is this as big of a deal as it's being made? What does this kind of mean for the future of PvE? Really, PvP is not as affected. Like, sure, we're rotating out maps and whatnot. What does this mean for PvE going forward? Because we are losing 5 raids at the same time. Like, this should serve as some sort of assurance that those are coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why they phrased it the way that they did, that it's going into the content vault like the Disney vault. It's not being deleted from the game, It's,
right. The amount of misconceptions I've seen around this, though, is just baffling.
Yeah.
Because I think this is something that a game's never really done before. Like, oh, we're going to take content out, but don't worry, we're going to bring it back to you eventually. We're going to make it better behind the scenes.
And they've done something similar in other games. WoW blew up a lot of things in the Cataclysm.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But they brought them back changed afterwards. Fortnite literally blew up their entire game and then brought it back under a new engine 24 hours later, I think this is the concession we have to make if we're not going to abandon D2 entirely to jump into a sequel. If they're going to kind of buff this up and future-proof it a little bit. I mean, I remember reading an interview a couple years ago. They can't even... Dedicated servers isn't even a possibility with their current engine. It's not compatible, So future-proofing, moving forward, kind of taking advantage of new consoles and really bringing the game into a new era. I don't think they can do that with a game that was built to be supported for 2 years and then abandoned for a sequel.
No, they absolutely can. I mean, we've all kind of speculated on this before, like that if Activision was still in charge, there's zero doubt in my mind that Beyond Light would have been Destiny 3. There's
100%.
Zero doubt. 100%. And it would have come out just as half-baked.
Yep.
I do feel like, John, you and I have talked about this, we feel like they're finally at a point where with this year they were able to achieve, even if they didn't hit all the marks, like the game overall was at a point with world building, with activities where they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And they're introducing new pinnacle activities, but rotating these out, I mean, I know people are like, oh, the raids are going to go away forever, they're going to go away forever, like there's a story reason for it we can't do. I'm like, maybe it's as simple as Callus pieces out and goes to go get allies from the Cabal Empire or something. Like, who knows? Like, he goes back to reclaim the throne and like leaves his emissary to assist us with giving us weapon frames or something. Like, who knows what we're actually going to do and see. I love that there's story reasons behind it, though. Like that maybe next year we're liberating these planets and that's how they're bringing them back into the fold. This is, to me, also the content vault is kind of buying time for everybody to get caught up to speed on next gen. Like, yeah, the Band-Aid is going to hurt when they rip it off next fall, but they're forewarning you, not forewarning you, but if you don't think that they're going to abandon Xbox One and PS4 next fall, you need to get your head in the game.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
But, if what Cross put in his video is true, and, sometimes devs talk about things that they want to do and it never ends up happening, but if that's actually what's going on, they're actually kind of more or less rebuilding Destiny 2 from the source code, the base code up.
Right. And it's worth noting, this happened about a year ago. So, because he says last fall,
during the Shadowkeep preview event.
We're assuming this happened during the Shadowkeep preview. That this happened, which would have put it sometime in early September, late August, literally exactly a year ago is when this conversation would have taken place. And I think that's part of why they felt confident telling us about the next 2 expansions as well that are coming with Witch Queen and Lightfall.
Yeah.
So you don't come out and announce that and announce the partnership with Microsoft on Game Pass without having a plan. But I do think that's part of what they're using the Microsoft money for, and the Stadia money that they took last year is to fund this, because if you're having to build a new engine or even license it out, like there's a lot that's going to happen there.
Do you think they would license it out, or do you think they would you think they have enough in them to just make their own?
I think they have enough in them to make their own. I mean, it's worth noting that the engine they're running on is a heavily modified version of the Halo Reach engine.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, that engine just needs to go away at this point, but that is an internal engine.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, Reach in the Master Chief Collection looks amazing, but, like, it was built for a level-based first-person shooter, and, like, just, you can see, like, sometimes you just go into some of these dungeons, or these, hidden places and stuff, and you just see the world just kind of, like, it's put together with some, bubblegum and
there's some digital
paper clips
going on here.
Yeah.
So some Gorilla Glue has been used behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is kind of a testament to the magic of Bungie, given that still Destiny 2 is one of the prettiest games out there right now, and it's 4 years old running on a 12-year-old engine, Yeah.
And I think that's part of why maybe this year was a little lackluster, and I truly think that maybe we get a hint at that new engine this fall, like that. I firmly believe that's why it's been delayed, is because they're making some server-side changes, and they just knew they couldn't get them implemented in time, as well as probably trying to get the game to be able to play with people that are 30 frames on, like, say, Xbox One versus Series X, which will be 60 frames at launch. Because
I still can't believe
we all play on Xbox. We've all seen how bad it can stutter, especially in things like the what do you call it? The Altars of Sorrow, especially.
EP.
Dude, when it's dropping down to like 10 to 15 frames a second, it's pretty bad. It is darn near breaking my Xbox One S. I'm more than ready to abandon, like, quite frankly, even with the Halo delay, like, I'm still buying a Series X so that I can play Destiny at a decent resolution and frame rate.
That's literally I think that's like the 99% of the reason why I'm getting a Series X at launch is to play Destiny at 60 frames a second and not hope it doesn't break when I've loaded into the tower.
Right, like I'm tired of people getting bounced from the fire team whenever we enter an activity from the tower. I'm tired of my 1S boots me from the internet randomly in the middle of raids, and it infuriates me.
Yeah.
I get kicked out of parties randomly. Like, I am looking forward, and this is the only game it ever happens in. I am looking forward to Destiny finally running well on a console for the first time ever this fall.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't have enough time to make an entire sandwich and eat half of it before I load in from pressing A on the start screen.
Dude, so just for reference, John, whenever we're loading into an activity or we've been playing for a while, he'll get up sometimes after he loads us as the fire team leader. He'll go have a smoke break, and he'll take his mic with him, and we've been talking, and we're just sitting there like having a great old conversation. Comes back and he's like, "Damn, we're still not loaded in yet." Like. Or Iron Banner or something like that. And it's bad. It's bad. I can't do it. But this with the promise of crossplay. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say I had to buy an SSD to plug into my Xbox just because I couldn't deal with how long it takes just for your inventory screen to load when you press start.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst.
Activity is almost impossible.
The fact that I can hit pause, look down, and check the messages on my phone and look back up, and I still haven't fully loaded is bad.
Yeah, and the fact that like if you're in certain situations, like the other day I was Mitch and I were playing, and what were we doing? I think we were just doing the Nightfall, but I wanted to switch weapons out. I couldn't, like, it took me like 2 or 3 minutes just to get in and switch my weapons around and everything and get out because of the loading.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just...
It's so bad, especially if there's other stuff going on in the area. It's unforgivably bad.
And of course,
I can't do it.
Almost all content creators obviously are on PC, so like I remember when Trials was launching, just looking up some like Trials tips from like Cool Guy or True Vanguard, and they talked about swapping weapons right around round 3 or 4 to deal with supers because everyone's going to have their supers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there thinking, like, imagine being able to load up your inventory screen in the time it takes to load into the 4th round or the 5th round.
It's unforgivably bad. Yeah.
It's
there you have it. Astacross may or may not have broken an NDA. It definitely sounds like he did. That was probably a privileged conversation he had with Luke Smith. So
I'm gonna just say,
to see how that affects preview events.
I'm just gonna say we didn't sign the NDA, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and that's the thing about an NDA. Like, once somebody's broken that and it's out there, it's kind of fair game for everybody to talk about. But it seems like it's, even on the subreddit, like, it's almost a taboo thing to be talking about. I expected a lot more discussion to be going on, but really it was just kind of in the Twitter circles, around Paul Tassi's post and things like that.
Cross posted that video last week and no one talked about it. I really think it was Paul's article, not to, like, throw him under the bus, but I think that's what drew so many people's attention to it.
Yeah, he said he didn't even see it. He said he saw it pop up in his feed, and he just kind of ignored it because he thought, oh, well, it's the same stuff we've all talked about ad nauseum. And people were like telling him what was in it, and like, dude, you need to actually watch this and hear what he's saying. And I know, for instance, a couple of content creators that we all follow. Two of them in particular, not to throw anybody under the bus, but True Vanguard and Watts from DCP were talking about last on Twitter, and both understandably pretty irked at this. And Watts, Watts is obviously has some very close relationships at Bungie, but she said, like, her indication and things that she's basically heard or been told is that this goes beyond just breaking an NDA, which is slightly concerning. Because it's like, this definitely sounds like something that Luke and them were going to tell us eventually. We know they've been told about things far in advance that would come to the game at these community summits. And as some Bungie's like most studios, they're pretty closed off. They only allow journalists in. Like, leading up to Forsaken, I think they had a few content creators they allowed in, like Dotto and a few that live in the area. I know they've flown Bipe out there a few times. But Game Informer was notably the person who got the scoop on it. They got to do like a 15-page spread on Forsaken. They got to reveal the Dreaming City and all that. Which is why it flew under so many people's radar, because who's reading a magazine these days?
Excuse me, I still read Game Informer when I poop, okay?
I read digital Game Informer sometimes. I read a lot of their online stuff. But that's beside the point. When you look at this and you look at how open that they've been with some of these community summits the last couple of years. I mean, they did one in year one, leading up to Forsaken, like when the game launched and it was so bad. They basically brought people in right before Curse of Osiris came out. They're like, all right, what do we need to do to fix this game? What do you guys want to see fixed? What's wrong? We know we screwed the pooch here. And they've been really open during Destiny 2, and I can't help but feel like this kind of hurts everyone. Like, we've all benefited from how open they've been. What they've shared with some of our favorite voices. Everybody approaches it kind of differently. I personally like to hear how Bife and Dotto cover this stuff. And I think that we may see a regression on that, or they're going to be very limited on who they let in. Like, you'll still get your Dottos and your Glads there, but you might not get some of your smaller content. Like, I love Cross, but he's not necessarily on that level.
No.
Like, we may see smaller content creators now. Like, that's already an exclusive club to get into, to get an invite to a studio to cover something. But as we saw with Apex Legends, sometimes people can't keep their mouth shut, and that's a problem.
I don't think they'll go as far as to start retracting these community outreaches.
I just think they'll be more selective, frankly.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Cross gets invited to the Beyond Light preview this year. Assuming that. Well, I guess they won't be doing that with COVID. But
I like I told you last night, I would pay to have seen Luke and Mark's reaction to this when they realized this was going around the internet, and for the not the email, the phone call that followed that.
Oh yeah, for sure. The same call.
Them, like, dude, what the hell, man? Like, you can't do this.
There's two outcomes from this, unfortunately. Either this was a big talking point for some reveal event we're going to get in the next 2 months of, hey, look at how we're restructuring the Destiny 2 from the code to the screen. And, when you get these planets back, they're going to be completely revamped. We can do world bosses. We can do 16 people in a setting instead of 9. Either that was the case and they're robbed of that messaging, or this was something that they wanted to do a year ago and now are finding the realities they can't do, and now people are going to be disappointed if they don't have that revamped, new plus, both sides of that coin are not good for Bungie or for us.
No, it's not great at all, and that like we've said. Breaking an NDA complicates it, not just for content creators, but for the community and the studio. I mean, nobody is a winner, even if they implement everything. Like, Bungie has been robbed of telling us that themselves. Something that surely would have earned them some goodwill with the community.
Or at least properly set expectations.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's worth noting, we haven't gotten Luke's State of the Game yet this fall. That is usually comes out around Gamescom time, so I'm expecting that probably towards the end of September now with the delay. To set some expectations for the fall, Cosmo and Damage set today, that they're ramping up, they're getting ready to start sharing topics. They really want the team to be able to grind out the last couple weeks of production before they start really talking to us about what is actually going to make the fall release. So I think the next few weeks are going to be pretty telling. We'll see if some of this starts coming out. I wondered if Bungie was going to address it today in the TWAB, and it was a very quiet TWAB. So I don't know, like, maybe they're internally trying to figure out how to handle this. They don't want to throw a guy under the bus.
I don't see them publicly crucifying Cross about
this. No. But, and I don't. That's not the Bungie way. Even people that they just kick out of their orbit completely, they don't publicly crucify unless something like, of course, like the Lano situation happens.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up. Even when it's as bad as that, they don't single out people. They just say generally, "Hey, we don't tolerate this behavior."
Right. That one in particular, they did because hey, enough people came forward, and that's a completely different situation, obviously. Yeah. It's not somebody breaking an
not even apples and oranges. They're
right.
Apples and firefighters,
Yeah. Just a little curious to see how that handles. So yeah, Corey, you got any other thoughts on any of this?
I mean, nothing that you guys didn't already say. I think, I really don't have anything else to say than what you guys have already said, to be perfectly honest.
All right. Well, Corey, is it that time of the week?
It is. It is time for Lore Corner with Josh Finney.
Thank you. All right.
I've been listening to a lot of Hotspot on Giant Bomb, and like the way that Jeff Gerstmann intros the show is just kind of like, it's funny. I was trying to do that, but I failed miserably. So continue.
No, so last week, we covered the Osnium Court last week. Talked about sword logic. Talked about the origins of the court and how Oryx, Savathun, and Xivu Arath came to be. We ended with Oryx declaring himself Oryx, obviously, with Oryx taking the name Oryx and becoming a Taken King. This week, we're going to talk about. We're going to go into some detail. We actually don't know. She is one of the big bads of the entire franchise. Honestly, a little bit scarier at this point than Oryx ever was, because Oryx was name-dropped and defeated within, 9 months. That dude was here and gone. Savathun, on the other hand, we've been hearing about since, or Sathona, as we knew her when she was first introduced. We've known about her since the events of the Taken King, since the Books of Sorrow, and they've kind of slowly built her story up, and it's really hit a crescendo in the last year and a half or so, really since the Curse of the Dreaming City started. So most of what we know about Savathun right now is actually in-game. It's recent events. We know that she had a plan to get rid of the tribute system that her and her siblings had installed. She basically wanted to seize the power for herself. Instead of paying tribute to a worm god, she wanted to find a way to create infinite power for herself, in a violation, in a way, of the sword logic. She wanted to bypass that and just take all the power for herself, not have it go to subordinates or anything. She wanted it all for herself. Savathun desires to be the most powerful being in the universe, essentially. She hates the Traveler. She hates the light. The reason why she's popping up this season is chasing the pyramids is she wants to prove that she is worthy of wielding the darkness, that it should not go to the Guardians who already have the light. Why should they get to wield the light and the dark? We should be the chosen. Very much the same arrogance that Aramis has, but Savathun is very cunning. Eris makes note of this in one of the new strikes on Io, where she says Savathun is gathering all of her strength. She will not be as foolish as Oryx was. She cautions Zavala against this, and Zavala still doesn't quite get it. Zavala doesn't understand. Even when Eris explains it to him in one of the cutscenes at the beginning of the season, he doesn't understand the danger and the threat of Savathun. Really, only Eris and the Drifter seem to grasp this.
What was the line that Eris dropped about it? That we'll know what her plan is when she starts it. You know,
yeah. Basically, like nobody can predict her moves. She is basically she is the Witch Queen. Like she is a goddess of trickery. Essentially, if Oryx was a god of war, she is a god of trickery. And her cunning, her deceit, those were the traits that were amplified when she took on the form Savathun from Sathona. As her and her siblings began to commit war, began to kill each other, her and Xivu Arath concocted this plan to try and kill Oryx and take his tablets from him, the power that gives him the ability to take. They concocted a plan to take those and take the Taken for themselves, to rule the Hive and the Taken both. So they tricked Crota into allowing Quiria, the Vex Mind, into Oryx's throne world, into the Ascendant Realm, and Oryx managed to take Quiria, and it's the first time that a Vex had ever been taken. And then he, in turn, tried to send Quiria into Savathun's throne world to kill her. That did not work. She, in turn, teaches this Taken Vex Mind how to harness Hive magic and how to conduct Hive rituals, and she convinces this mind not to go back to Oryx, to work for her, and they create this singularity, which was a way for Savathun to understand and start taking all of the power for herself. And she starts these ramblings. Savathun does too, to this random thrall in the Ascendant Realm who doesn't understand any of the witch's ramblings, and it was kind of left a mystery until we started to discover some of these during the Dreaming City events. Some of the encrypted messages we were finding. Our first actual mention of her in the storyline events comes during the events on Titan during Savathun's song, of course, when Takeo 3 and the other 8 freaking Guardians that were on this mission.
9-person raid failed.
9-person raid failed a Vanguard strike. Let that sink in for just a moment. Of course, the Hive are conducting a ritual with a shrieker called Savathun's song. They're trying to summon something to Titan, and it's still unknown at that point what it is. Savathun eventually, 2-3 years after the Taken War, has pretty much assumed control of the Taken at this stage. People are trying to figure out why are they so coordinated. Like at the Lake of Shadows, they're coordinated. They're coordinated in the attack on the Dreaming City, and it's discovered that Savathun is controlling them at this point. It is theorized now that through Quiria, she has discovered the power to take. That somehow she has been able to do that, and we're not quite sure how.
Nocris even refers to her as the Taken Queen in that preview story right before.
We're gonna get to Nocris here in just a second. Part of that is Nocris is sucking up to her. He needs her to save him, essentially, because we somehow didn't kill him when we just obliterated his body. This is kind of why, I'm almost going to dub this Savathun Part 1, because we're going to have to do a Part 2 at some point in the next year. There's going to be a lot more that we're going to learn leading up to the Witch Queen and presumably us finally taking her down. She was behind the events on the moon. She directed the Hidden Swarm to build the Scarlet Keep, to distract us from the Pyramid's power, to keep us from finding it. And yet we still found it. We still entered the Pyramid. She hates this. She hates it so much that we're doing this. She's doing this, but she also wanted it built so that, because she knew the Guardian would go there, the young wolf would go there and would slay the last of Crota's brood. Crota's daughters, of course, established this. Hashladun, we kill Hashladun, we kill the final Death Singers. Oryx's line, for all intents and purposes, is extinct. It's gone. All you got left is Savathun, and, well, for 3 weeks, you get to a Lucario, and then we kill her, and then she comes back to life. Of course, we know that Nocris joins forces with her. events of Warmind, offers teacher the necromancy, and this and that, and they kind of decide to come together and do this because Nokris has been abandoned by Zol. Zol has seen our power and has gone, nope, I'm serving them. They are the more powerful being.
I'm going to be a badass sniper rifle piece.
Yeah, I'm going to live within this gun. I'm going to speak to them through the weapon, much like Oryx also did, and in a sense gain immortality this way and still be able to take vengeance on those. I'm going to serve the most powerful being in the universe, essentially, which multiple gods have now determined to be our guardian. So during all this, of course, as we covered during Ribbon, you're kind of seeing everything that we talked about for the last several weeks come into play here. This is kind of the culmination of it. Savathun's had a hand in all of those events. The events of Forsaken largely are set in motion by her. She gains access to the Dreaming City, and Riven, who was taken by Oryx, she convinces Riven to be on her side. The titular last wish is referring to Savathun. When Riven dies, Riven grants one final wish, and that's for the curse of the Dreaming City to happen. And then when we kill Dulan Karu, we fire up the murder battery, essentially. So we are now in an impossible situation. Do we keep fighting in this loop, or do we allow the loop to break and let Dulan Karu break through to the distributary, which is her and Savathun's ultimate goal? To basically wipe out the Awoken species.
And somehow resetting the loop is feeding power to Savathun. So either way,
that's part of the power that we alluded to earlier with Quiria is she teaches her how they run this in simulations, and Quiria, it's thought, is the one powering this whole loop. That she is also secretly helping direct the events. I thought we were going to take her out in Last Swish once I saw it was taken enemies, and we didn't. So presumably she will be taken out in either a strike or in the actual Savathun raid encounter. It's ironic that Xivu Arath is really the god of war, but the high god of war, but Savathun in so many ways is so much more brutal and unrelenting than Xivu Arath is. What little we know of Xivu.
Yeah.
She takes over Elusina, the corrupted throne world of Marasav. Of course, that's where Dulan Karu was taken up. The Shattered Throne. That's the Shattered Throne. Is Elusina, and so when that's all happening, like Savathun's just kind of sitting back. She's kind of kicking back and like, oh yeah, this is great. She concocts a plan to take down Callus. She's coming at us from all angles, trying to wipe out our allies in the Awoken, trying to wipe out Callus, who's trying to curry our favor. Like we conquered the Leviathan. We've saved him from 2 threats now on board. He trusts us implicitly, and that's why when the Crown of Sorrow happens, her intent is for him to wear it because he is so regal and gluttonous that he can't resist wearing it. He sees through it and puts it on one of his bathers, Galron, who of course becomes corrupted, and the events of the Crown of Sorrow happen, and he calls upon us to come wipe him out. She takes over a lot of his loyalists. She leaves there's messages left in the Chronicon to us. Yep. And ever since then, so really for the last year, she's been going through this. Like she's kind of seen the nightmares happen. She's seen the stuff happen on Io, of course, in the within the Pyramidion. She's behind all of that. That's, of course, as we're referring to, Eris and Zavala kind of duke it out there at the end, dialogue-wise. Like she's like, no, you have to start planning now. She's not going to just attack the city. She's going to come at us with everything she's got on all fronts. This is not good. This is not good at all. These blights are exactly like that. This is bad. This is really, 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 really bad. And
how bad is it?
It's really bad. It's really bad, Corey. And of course, that brings us to this season, which, whenever you do the Contact public event, you are trying to take out Savathun's forces. She's sending scouts because she basically wants to know why on earth have we been chosen by the pyramids to receive their messages.
Using their marionettes.
Yeah, her marionettes are running around. Her little puppets. She's very upset that we are, and we know that Nokris is leading the Taken on Io right now. For all intents and purposes, he's the one leading them on the Cradle. You can hear him speaking in when you enter the Ascendant realm to take down the Shrieker each week. She is trying to go ahead.
I was about to say, just we're going to Savathun's throne world every week, which is just lore-wise so cool to me, even if it gets repetitive after the third or fourth time you go there.
It's absolutely repetitive, don't get me wrong. What is it with the hive and swinging chandeliers in Throne Worlds? That's what I want to know. Chandeliers that I have to jump across too. I'm just kind of over it.
Why are they so big?
Man, there's just...
Do they live in there?
Weird.
Like,
she...
Is that why they store all the exploding Thorol so they can light their hives until, like, you know, they're ready to come blow up in your face?
So they can make me do the same jumping area like 3 different times because they keep blowing up on me? Yes.
Yeah.
I think before we move on from Nokris, I just wanted to touch on one little thing, if I may.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating to me, out of all of this that we've learned this season, that Savathun is more or less abandoning the sword logic. Was my read on it. You know, her and Nokris talked about the God, I wish I had it pulled up in front of me so I could quote it directly, but she kind of refers to Oryx being short-sighted for following the sword logic so closely, you know.
So I have one of the quotes pulled up here in front of me. And it's Nokris bargaining with Savathun. The queen is clever. You did not share my father's single-minded ambition, nor my brother's taste for glory. Savathun goes, you wish to serve me. And Nokris says, yes. My life is spent servitude to those who cast me away. Our blood is all that remains of the old pact. And then Savathun makes the bargain. Then let us make use of each other. She plans to use his necromancy in combination with the murder battery, because I have no better terminology here, to power herself instead of the sword logic, instead of conquest through just defeating the cast in front of you. Every time that something is defeated, she is fed. That is ultimately her goal. She seeks to become more powerful than Oryx, and I would say at this point probably has surpassed Oryx's powers. She has watched us with curiosity for years now, and she is now she's scared enough of us if we get the powers of the darkness that she is directly telling Nokris to stop and interfere with our communication, hence the interference missions. This particular week, we're going to cover all of these once they've all technically been unlocked. I know they're all in Ishtar Collective, but I don't like to cover things before they're actually in the game.
Yeah.
When Eris gives us the lore piece, I haven't actually read the lore from last week yet. She says, curious, this message is not intended for us. It is a rebuke. And it's inferred that the rebuke is directed at Savathun because she's trying to spy on us. She's trying to prevent us from communicating with the darkness. And the darkness is basically giving her the finger right now. Like, we don't want you. We want the Guardian. We want him. We want these guys. We want to prove that, that this is the ultimate power in the universe. Not the light, but, hey, man, come to a space Dorito and get lit up. We don't really, to kind of conclude this lore corner, we don't really know what her end goal is. We assume this is all we're really going to get of her this season. It's just the contact events, the interference missions. I do think something cool will probably happen on week 15. So in 2 weeks, when we do the final interference mission, that is the first time you can actually get the 15th lure piece. I think there's something cool that's going to happen. The tree has gradually been changing. Yeah, I think it'll be part of the evacuation quest, personally. I think that's what will finally trigger maybe some of those planets going away or something new happening on the planets. And we've all suspected Traveler's Judgment, Traveler's Chosen is tied to the second part of the Exodus quest line. I expect Savathun to probably take a back seat in the initial fall expansion. Maybe she'll be front and center or one of her cronies will be front and center for the dungeon that will inevitably come this year. I would suspect it, since 2 of the 3 dungeons are Taken themed. I would definitely expect it. I don't know, because there's so many different routes you can go with this, and obviously Bungie wants to keep that mystery. I do think it's going to be the core focus of our seasonal storyline going forward. Like, this year we had a storyline that all tied together, starting with the Vex offensive, starting with the first completion of the Garden of Salvation kicked in motion the entire storyline we've been on this year. It led to us contact when we killed the Undying Mind. We meet with Osiris for the first time, really the first time in the flesh.
We changed the Infinite Forest with that act.
Yes. We changed it, and suddenly he couldn't see that. The Vex couldn't comprehend a future where that happened. So he had never seen this future. This is the new future. Introduces us to the sundial. We're able to save Saint 14. We walk the corridors. We see our future grave. We come out of that, and it's Osiris confronting Rasputin. We have to align with Rasputin to save the city ultimately, to gain the trust and get him and Zavala to get along. Anna comes back into the fold. Osiris and Anna see something horrifying in deep space that just scars both of them. We still don't know where Osiris quite is right now. We know his encounter with the darkness was far worse than Anna's. Yeah. And of course that leads into the season of arrivals. Canonically, we blow up the Almighty, and a couple days later, Anna has saved one of those bursts that we had built for Rasputin, one of those groups of satellites, and goes to fire it at the pyramid ship over Iho, and Rasputin is shut down. Rasputin's basically knocked out of commission by the pyramids. So we don't really know what role Savathun has in all of this. And I'm very curious to see. Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but not for nothing, we have found out that she's spying on / possibly interfering with Zavala right there on the tower.
Yeah, and we're going to get to... I was kind of saving that one. We're going to do a Zavala-centric lore corner here in a few weeks. Okay. Once we get Travelers Chosen, we're going to start addressing Zavala a little bit.
Yeah.
There's been enough development with him since Forsaken that I think it warrants us discussing him, particularly the lore and the actions we've seen him take in both Season of the Worthy and Season of Arrivals now. He's a different character than he was during Forsaken, or even during the Red War. This is a guy who he saw the city nearly get wiped out. We all nearly died because we lost our powers. One of his best friends murdered, and we directly disobeyed him with Ikora's help to go and avenge his death. Which Zavala was shocked. Like he's like, I don't know what ramifications we'll face, and I'm sure there is still a reckoning coming for us doing that.
Yeah.
At some point, something is going to happen. Bungie doesn't like to leave threads like that just hanging out when a prominent character gives dialogue like that. But the Ahamkara skull that is above Shax's head, it is referenced. Eris basically says Savathun is awakening relics of the dark. Ancient relics and things that have not had life in them are suddenly stirring back to life. And she basically tells the Drifter, in dialogue, tells the Drifter, you tell that fool to get rid of that skull immediately. Like, that needs to be out of the tower. It needs to be gone. And he says, well, what do you think I've been doing? I've tried. He doesn't listen to me.
They seem to forget that all three classes have an exotic armor made out of Ahamkara bone. So that might also be troubling.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think there's at its core, I think there's a lot of things you can do, and they're setting up little nuggets. And Bungie likes to do this. They like to set up little nuggets of things and come back to them years down the line. Like I said, this is a storyline. Like, even if we take out Savathun, we very well may still have Xivu Arath. I really hope we don't. I hope we take them both out at the same time, because I'm getting tired of Hive and Taken being the end game. But they are the races that are closest to the actual embodiment of the darkness. As we went over last week, when they dive into Fundament's core and the Leviathan warns them to turn back. The Leviathan being a being of light at that point, a being of the Traveler, warns them, go back. All you will find is darkness if you go any further. And Savathun she wants that. Like she sees it as more powerful than light. She wants to seize it. And I'm curious to see what they do with the stasis powers. We already know that they're going to give them to various various enemy factions. Mm-hmm. Kind of curious to see if the darkness finally grants it to her, or if she tries to take it by force like Aramis come next fall, maybe next summer. We'll see what'll happen. But until then, of course, this has been Lore Corner and speculation about Savathun. And a little bit of an unconventional one this week. We don't have a whole lot of deep lore to go into. We did most of that last week. For next week, though, if you're listening to this, if you have any questions about the Osnium Cohorts, about Savathun, about Oryx, Xivu Arath, Nokris, Zol, all those fun guys that we've talked about, get those questions in. We kind of want to do a little bit of a Q&A, a little bit of a wrap-up on all these guys, any little tidbits we've missed before we dive into our denizens of the tower over the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Bada bing, bada boom.
You can email us or tweet us, Tower Casuals, at Tower Casuals, at towercasuals@gmail.com, all those places.
That's right.
Do it.
I completely
Probably a MySpace page, just Tower Casuals at MySpace.
Yeah. Visit our...
I mean, we're gonna open up the Zanga next week.
use your AOL keywords. Get those discs ready.
Man.
Tower Casuals Live Journal coming at you hot.
You gotta beat the timer on that, 48-hour trial. Don't waste those minutes.
48-hour trial. America Online. But
tell your parents you're using the phone line.
Mom, it's my turn to use the internet.
Oh man, what a great episode. But where'd everybody go? Oh no.
Oh?
Oh no.
Oh no, what?
Oh, there we go. Nothing. I was moving some windows around so I could wrap up the show, and Skype went away and you guys disappeared for a minute. It's okay. We're good to go.
Savathun!
I know. Just playing tricks on my monitors,
The Witch Queen has infiltrated the monitor.
Oh, what's this weird skull hanging above my lamp? It's all right. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching Tower Casuals. We're going to wrap it up. You can catch the show every Thursday live on twitch.tv/BossRushGames live, or you can catch it on YouTube and podcast services on Fridays. I'm really glad we made the switch to Thursdays. It's kind of...
Me too. We can actually talk about things as they happen.
I know.
And in the instance of last week, it requires us throwing out the entire show plan to talk about the TWAB instead.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely a good choice there. Just a little bit to catch up on. We launched our PlayStation podcast this week. Hopefully you guys go check it out. If you are an Xbox guy, you can check out Arsenal X. Everything has been changing. So this website thing though, it's killing me here. It's just killing me. So it's all right. Anyways, play Destiny, have fun. John, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Remind everybody where they can find you if you want them to.
I guess you could find me at A1 Johnnny with 3 N's on Twitter if for whatever reason you wanted to watch me rant about Destiny full time. But other than that, I don't make content or anything. I'm just a Destiny player and a friend of Josh, and I appreciate you guys inviting me on here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, man.
Anytime.
We wanted to do this for a while, so
Yeah.
Whenever you need someone to come on, I'm around and have plenty of things to say about this game we're all involved in. So,
John is the build man. He's Bob the Builder, you could say.
Bob. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I went there. You're a dad. You should understand.
I understand completely, but I don't think that show's been on for a while.
Well,
I think it's handy.
Just ask your parents what Bob the Builder was.
nothing but net. Nothing but net over here.
Yeah, big whiff. Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter as always at Josh_Finn. That's Finn with 2 N's. Come follow me for my Destiny rantings, my constant agonizing over when I will get to pre-order my next-gen consoles, and my Hero Academia.
Can we just get those console prices already?
Dude, okay, listen. This is not Destiny related. It's happening in a couple weeks. Microsoft is going to cave first, okay? They have to. For the sake of Xboxing Day, they have to, okay? If they don't reveal it by the end of September, then I'm convinced I'm just going to pick up the console and a debt collector is going to show up on my front door a couple days later. It's going to happen. But given, did anybody else see that you have to register for the chance to buy a PS5?
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to submit your PSN username. That's like theater of the absurd to me. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? In this year, with COVID-19 going around, that might actually be the safest way for them to sell these consoles and make all their money that they want. They don't have to share the profits with GameStop or Best Buy. And I saw Jeff Grubb speculating about this on Twitter, saying that he wouldn't be shocked to see a retail partner, like, for example, Sony and Microsoft partner with Best Buy, since they're actually semi-reliable on pre-orders and stuff. Like, to be like, all right, you've got, like, 1.5 million consoles, divide them up between your online and your stores or whatever, but we prefer for you not to do in-person pickups. Like, we're going to keep everyone safe, and we're all going to make a whole lot of moolah this year because these consoles are not coming in at under $500.
No. Do you see the ridiculous rumor that said that Xbox Series X was going to be $400, was going to be $399, and then the Lockhart was going to be $249?
Reading the specs until I started reading into the specs and like pricing out some of the components, I quite frankly thought that it was possible, and then I just started reading and I'm like, oh yeah, that ain't happening. This sucker's going to be, and them taking a loss is going to be $500. There's no,
I can see 400.
If it's less than 400, they really don't care about profit margins.
Yeah.
Maybe for the diskless, internet-only S.
Honestly, at this point, because the X is going to be underpowered to an extent compared to the X, I expect the X to be 500 and the S to be 300 to 350.
Yeah.
I think that's because they've said with that console they want to be flexible and have it be a cheap entry point. And I mean, any Android phone is now an entry point because Apple hates us all.
I know.
So there you go. That has been Next Gen Watch with the Tower Casuals. The new sandwich casuals.
Oh, man. What kind of sandwich do you think that Phil Spencer would eat at Earl's Sandwich?
Oh, God, here we go.
I'm just kidding. We'll talk about that.
Phil Spencer seems like a meatball sub kind of guy.
Yeah.
He wants to get his hands dirty, but he wants a ton of meat in there. He wants a lot of sauce. Like, he doesn't care how it looks as long as the job gets done, man.
It's fair. It's fair. You can find me at IamCoreyHC on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on a lot of other things going on here at Boss Rush Games. Thank you, John. Thank you, Josh. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. And until next week, we love you. Goodbye.